Beautiful people inside and out. Welcome to another episode of League Unlock. Eric and Mark hanging out with you guys today, going through all the action that was on the weekend, and it was our first weekend in a while without any LCK, but there was plenty of other action.
Yeah, hey, you needed to get your fix here late night, early morning of League of Legends somewhere else, find a streamer, whatever you had to do, but you don't have to do it too long here because we got the LPL back. But hey, we got to start this show off in the LCS, in that for fun region, because man, you know what? This was actually a pretty fun weekend here in the LCS, and not every time we get to say that.
We haven't said it that much in spring, but yeah, there were a lot of great storylines, and TSM coming into the week, we know every week it's been 2-0, we're 0-2. There's no 1-1s on this roster. When you match up against C9 and FlyQuest, top two teams in the league, looked like an easy 0-2 for them, but destiny shows. They went 0-2 last week. Can't have it happen again. They end the perfect run of Cloud9, and they looked incredibly clean in doing so.
You know what? It had shades of kind of the way that G2 plays, in the sense of you hit one spell here, someone hits it, and the next guy up lands his spell right after. They know
perfectly layered.
That synergy here where you have zero chance to push your buttons. They're not even playing League of Legends. I don't know what you're staring at your computer screen when this is going on here, because this was just pure domination from this TSM squad. And you know what? We all sold out on them. We said, 2-0 weeks, 0-2 weeks. I want to see consistency here. Well, obviously you've seen the consistency in the individual weeks, and this is a week here that, you know what, I know a lot of people maybe aren't gonna buy it. I'm buying in here. I think this is the turning point. The way this squad played this week, I feel like they will carry this confidence, this momentum, the way they're playing and communicating into the next couple of weeks.
And there's pretty much all five members you can highlight. Bjergsen's probably gonna get a lot of the credit and accolades. He had a great weekend, 14 kills, didn't die, some great stuns on Irelia and stuns on the Zillion, who's a great fallback pick for him. Broken Blade and Biofrost had some incredible engages to get those wombo combos started. Dardoch looked a lot more consistent, and Kabe's been pretty consistent for the entire split.
Kind of the nice thing here is you had TSM playing through the solo lanes, BB and Bjergsen doing fantastic jobs, and hey, Bjergsen, I want to give a quick shout out here, playing on the Zillion and the Irelia. Those are two completely different skill sets here. Sure. And he absolutely smurfs and dominates on both of them this weekend here. But when you're looking at playing in those solo lanes, and then you had Kabe as the insurance there, just scaling up, making sure the damage is there for the team, it looked great from TSM this weekend.
And Bjergsen has been heavily criticized throughout this split, and deservedly so in a lot of these matches. He hasn't been at the level we're accustomed to seeing. Absolutely got back on track this week, and now Cloud9 has their first loss, and they actually have we have to improve on this, and Sven died 3 times. Hey, you gotta KDA.
Gotta get Vulcan back onto that Braum, back onto that Tom Kench. None of this Leona business.
Yeah, well, he has looked good on that pick as well, but TSM does what looked impossible. They moved to 8-6. Team Liquid looked like the team that was coming up right behind to Cloud9 to finish as that second team in the LCS. Tactical starts this weekend. They go up against CLG. It's an easy schedule, easy 2-0 for Team Liquid. But the notorious POB goes up against his former squad and says, remember, for how much I've gotten poo-pooed on from the rest of the league, I was still a pretty damn good mid laner.
And look, this story keeps getting even better. This split, what Pope Belter has done, bides his time, doesn't get a starting spot here, improves himself here with his play in these games, and especially against Team Liquid, and the ending play that he makes in this one, the TP flank, flashing the Broxah Q and getting that triple kill to seal things off for the squad. Really loved what I saw from CLG in this one. If you're a Team Liquid fan, I don't think you enjoyed what you saw in this one, because especially a lot of frustration around those smite fights. Those were not going your way. And look, we've been waiting for Broxah to be better, and we saw that maybe last week. We saw a bit of him kind of showing off what we wanted to see from Broxah here in North America. This wasn't what you wanted to see from Broxah.
No, and yeah, that play, by the way, Pope knows that he's getting zoomed in on, so he's dropping the Zhonya's.
Style.
The Elder Dragon really doing work on that last fight, but 11-1-0 on the Syndra in that game. Yeah, there were tons of objectives that Broxah had a chance to steal, and Team Liquid, It looked like it was the turnaround last week, and then all of a sudden they dumbed down to the level of play that we've seen from the middle to bottom tier teams in the LCS this year.
Very disappointing kind of regression here this week, and especially when you're looking towards the bottom side. I think Tactical did okay. I didn't think he really provided anything negative or positive for the squad here, but it seems like they might make that change towards double lift here to start here, and I think this is... I don't know what the point
3 games?
What was the point of the benching here if you're going to just at the very first sign of trouble take Tactical out? He deserves a longer leash than that.
He's fully remotivated and has his team's trust after just, about 10 days.
They're done playing Lena's team. That's the difference.
That's the main difference. But Doublelift did tweet, "I'm back." Don't know if that means he'll be playing on Monday night, but at 6 and 7, Team Liquid might be needing all of the help that they can get. A couple of other squads that went 2-0 this weekend to most people's surprise. And the Saturday LCS games, prediction-wise, pretty much everybody was going 0-4, maybe 1-3. I believed in Evil Geniuses going up against FlyQuest. And not only did they beat FlyQuest, but they completely annihilated them in that matchup. They go 2-0. 100 Thieves also went 2-0. But you got to say that EG's was more impressive just because of this FlyQuest win.
What I liked from EG this week is you actually kind of saw the team play together for the first time.
Multiple players playing well.
Right, things following up on one another. The communication lines seem to actually be in place in how they're going about things, deciding things in these games. It looks better from Evil Geniuses here. We've seen they pick up a win here or there off of some individual pop-offs or some mistakes from their opponents. That was not what this week was about. This was all about the play that Evil Geniuses was bringing to the Rift and how they went about it. And man, I bet Power Reveal was not feeling so great getting 5 bans against him this one.
And hey, it pays off against FlyQuest because they absolutely murdered them. 100 Thieves, the wins were a little bit less impressive. This one play completely changes the entire game because eventually Someday has a 3,000 gold lead.
That's all Someday needed.
In that matchup against SOAS. And then I hesitate to say clean, but it was a convincing win that 100 Thieves got over Immortals in that matchup, and that was a bigger surprise to me to see them go 2-0.
Yeah, certainly very surprising, and look, a very important one for the 100 Thieves as you head towards playoffs to get this 2-0. Some daddy gave them some big performances here this weekend.
Now, Mark and I were expecting a team like Dignitas to go 2-0 this week with the Chad jungler Acadian subbing in for Grig 2 weeks after he should have been promoted to the LCS. He comes in, and you know what? He looks great. He looks good, especially pre-15 minutes. Dig were actually active on the map. Then, the classic Baron throw for Dignitas. We thought we outgrew this, boys.
Oh, no, guys.
They're too scared to actually finish it, so they're like, okay, we'll just hesitate around and not actually fight. Oh, the Renekton got it. Oh, we all died.
And that was, to me, very clear, you know what, it's communication right now in that situation there of Acadian trying to go back into the pit, no one helping in to go and burst and try and seal it at that situation. And then even things like this matchup against Golden Guardians where it's this standstill for so long.
23 minutes, still first blood.
Right, I think there's some communication things going on here. I don't know how much you want to put on Acadian. I think his individual performances was great. I think that was exactly what you wanted to see here. There are other issues right now going on with Dignitas, keeping them from reaching the potential that we want them to reach.
I'm promoting Demonte and I'm promoting Ole from the Academy. We know they've been annihilating. We know Demonte and Acadian were the best mid-jungle duo in the league. They have that synergy that they've already built up. Froggen was very underwhelming. His Zoe was on a champion that you usually see people murdering on. That was not the case. Dig now 5-9, probably have to win at least 3 of their last 4 if they want any shot at playoffs. Coming up after the break, we switch to the land of Europia and G2. They stand the test of the gauntlet at the top of the standings and sit alone. We are back, and you best believe that this is League on Lock. Eric and Mark here with you guys, recapping the juicy action that was in the LEC when you had the 3 top teams going head-to-head. And of course, the match of the week, the real El Clasico in Europe, G2 versus Fnatic. And this is absolutely, whoever wins this is the best team in Europe. And the early game, it was looking so good for Fnatic. It was looking clean. We thought they were the best looking team coming into this matchup, and it looked true for about 20, 25 minutes until they got a little bit too excited and tried to overplay their hand. But the early game, again, was so clean from them.
Early game was great. Hylissang was not, doing hilly things early.
He hadn't died yet.
Yeah, exactly.
And then this Baron play.
Get around to here. You have no flash on the Olaf. And of course, it takes only a split second to get that blast cone out. And it's one of those situations where, look, it guarantees it. It goes from a situation where there's a chance of G2 getting it to absolutely none. Even in a risky chance to take that Baron in the first place, you gotta do your due diligence, do the homework there, take care of it. And that's all the type of window that a team like G2 needs to then impose their will on the match. And that's exactly what you saw here. My takeaways from G2 and Fnatic is I still think if they play it perfectly, if they're playing perfectly to what they are capable of, I think in a best of series, Fnatic would get the edge. But the problem is, how many times do you get a perfect executed game here in League of Legends? It does not happen very often, and the team that is best at capitalizing on mistakes, adapting in the moment right now, it's absolutely G2 eSports.
And usually this matchup does go the way of one team just simply outplays the other across the board. And G2 did to get back into this game and to win that last team fight. But it was very much a mistake by Fnatic that completely turned this game around. So yeah, best of 5, you still got to be confident if you are Fnatic, but destroy the blast cone next time. Or don't make that big a risk when you already have... You're in the driver's seat. You have a gold lead. The entire map is yours. Just play it a little bit slower. But G2 sits alone atop the standings. Origin held on to that top 3 with the head-to-head matchup against Misfits. They got a little bit of revenge against the squad who kind of... You really started taking Misfits seriously the first time they took down OG. But in this match, it was very much Origin bouncing back and proving that they should be in that same conversation as G2 and Fnatic.
They did a great job here, and oh man, the damage coming through from that Corki, and of course, Upset is so consistent in his positioning and how he goes about every single fight here. It was a really great job from him. Really love what Origin brought to the table this week. And again, in a week where you have Fnatic and G2 playing against each other, I think a squad like Origin putting up a good performance against a worthy team like Misfits, this helps their case quite a bit here in catapulting them as far as how we view the powers in the LEC.
And we get to see Zach win a game again. It's very touch or go.
Where he belongs in the jungle.
Yeah, if the pick actually works out, and it's probably because you saw some Zach support getting picked earlier that kind of inspired this, but Origin didn't get it done against G2. They get the win against Misfits to stay in that top 3. Should be feeling very confident still with that squad heading into playoffs. Confidence was also boosted for Rogue this week. A clean 2-0. Maybe it wasn't the most difficult schedule of any of the European teams this weekend, but they still had Mad Lions, a playoff squad, and Vitality. And just look at the numbers for them this week. The kill death over 7 and the gold differential at 15 over 3K. Obviously, both of those the best in week 7. They looked clean.
Oh yeah, Rogue smashed it this weekend here, and I don't know how much I want to put on maybe the victory over Mad Lions. Sometimes we've seen the Mad Lions have a couple of really rough performances all across the board.
Duds.
Right, and I feel like that might have been part of the result here against Rogue in that one, but I certainly don't want to take much away from the way that Rogue was able to perform in these important matchups. I think that they get it done here, and again, continue to improve and continue to show that we are going to be an elite level team here, not just right below Fnatic and G2. We want to be right in that conversation with them here, and this is keeping pace.
And we got to see Hans Sama play Syndra in the bot lane.
How do you like 5-man bot before 6 minutes?
It's not fun, but the fact that they have this diversity now where you can put a mage onto Hans Sama and he can perform pretty darn well on it, and you open up Larson to play that AD carry in the mid lane. So Tristan is a fun champion. I mean, anyone with the reset is a fun champion to watch, but the diverse skill set on this roster, the individual talent mechanically, Larson continues to be one of the best mids in EU, and Hans Sama and Vander are dumpstering a lot of these bot lane matchups.
Hey, and you said it, that Syndra pick looked pretty darn good on Hans Sama, and look, we've talked about Syndra being a flex pick, but we haven't actually seen it as often as I would have expected to see with how strong she is right now, and again, knowing the LEC and how much people like to kind of flex picks around. I would have thought we would have seen this earlier here, but good on the road getting it out here and looking good with it.
And I wouldn't have predicted it was Hansama to be one of the first guys to play that in the bottom lane. The top 5 in EU look pretty set for playoffs, but that final seed into the playoffs with Excel and Mad Lions, they're separated by 1 game. It still could go either way, I think. Both of them had the 1-1 weeks this weekend. And yeah, they got wins against the bottom 3 squads, and it wasn't incredibly confidence-inspiring in either of their matchups. But both of these teams have insane schedules to close out the final 2 weeks. For Excel, you got Fnatic G2, followed by Origin and SK. That is all 3 of the top teams you have to get through. And on the Mad side, they have SK, Misfits, Fnatic, and Origin. So both have 3 really good teams. But remember, Excel has the 2-0 head-to-head.
That's the important thing here. I was going to say the head-to-head is the really important one for Excel, at least. That's kind of their saving graces. Yes, you know what? I think overall, I think Excel has actually the harder schedule moving forward these next couple of days, but absolutely having that head-to-head advantage is certainly in your favor. And look, you just got to keep pace here with the Mad Lions, and you'll be just okay here. Sneak in at that last spot for the playoffs.
Now, you assume both of these guys will probably beat SK, so that's a win for them. I think
I would hope they do.
Especially in the playoff hunt. And if Mad picks up 1 more win, if they go 2-2 across the 2 weeks, they're probably in. I don't see Excel going 3-1 against some of these top squads, but if Excel does somehow pick up a win against one of these top 3 teams and tie Mad, then you're talking about them in playoffs.
Hey, look, all I'll say about this is the fight here for the last playoff spot in the LEC, and it's certainly a lot more interesting and exciting than what the battle for the last playoff spot will be in the LCS, so enjoy this one.
You have 7 teams deserving of making playoffs in EU. You can't say that about North America yet, but it just wouldn't be EU without some tiebreakers somehow ending up, even if it's just for seeding in the playoffs. Coming up after the break, there's no LCK over the weekend, but the LPL returns 3 best of 3s in their debut or return. Hello, you beautiful people. This is League on Lock. Eric and Mark. We swap names for this particular block as we go through some LPL highlights. That's right, it's back. It's on the Rift. It's not live in venues, but it's played online. It's a historic moment, really. And of course, the first day, technical issues. Couldn't get it on the main LPL YouTube or Twitch channels, but they'll have it back for later in the week. So.
Hey, wouldn't be the LPL without a couple of hiccups and issues here to get things going. But hey, it is a welcome sight to see the LPL back in action. And look, it's not all the way back yet. We've still got some issues to go through, but happy that we're back.
And you remember the story of week 1 was FPX going 0-2. I know that was 2 full months ago at this point, but they were back against JD Gaming, who started 2-0. And you know that this one was going to be a banger. And you know that the LPL likes to fight. None of this LCS 26-minute first blood hooey pooey. There was fighting. There was a lot of it. Doinbee's playing the Rumble mid. LWX gets the misfortune. And we thought that the LPL might break the meta, but this looks pretty standard to me right now.
I mean, it kind of is breaking the meta. You have Ornn and Aphelios, and they're losing games.
Oh,
that's kind of breaking the meta.
That is breaking the meta. I will say the Kindred for Kanavi, that's a little bit different, and they drafted some fun comps around it where you had a Karma mid for Yagao in one of these games. Zoom is not playing in this series, by the way, because I'm assuming, in some of these areas in China that are still in lockdown, so not able to play. So they had 7-0-5 in that top lane. Got to get the numbers right. And this third game, it was all FPX. The gold lead was still kind of even though FunPlus had way more kills, but it was the Silas mid for Doinbee. He put some work on that, got that last fight going on the Recon, and FPX, they will not go 0-3.
FPX getting that victory here, and it's Gimgoon. Gimgoon in that top side was
all 3 games.
All 3 games here. I'm not quite certain if Khan has been caught up here with the travel restrictions for things going on here with the coronavirus, but of course, Gimgoon does step up in this matchup here, and hey, not many times you can say that Gimgoon is the carry, but in Game 3, he's doing some pretty darn dirty work on that Aatrox.
Yeah, and he looked pretty clean across those 3 games. There were still some suspect moments, no doubt, for FunPlus, and these teams have been scrimming, But 1-2 now for FPX, 2-1 for JDG. The other matchup, you had RNG versus Top eSports, and RNG only played one game in week 1, so you really haven't seen much to go off of for this team. We know Uzi not going to be playing. He was not in this matchup. It was Betty who got the start, and Xiaohu, Ming. The other boys are all still there, XLB for them, and for TES, we know it's all about Knight, and this game, this series had some insane back and forth team fights, but Betty on the Aphelios was absolutely putting in work in game 1.
When you look at the score of this series, you'll see that it was the clean 2-0 performance here for RNG in the victory. But I tell you what, when you look at these team fights, the way that they were going and the way that these games played out here, Top was certainly in them, absolutely.
Yeah, they definitely had a chance to win both of these matchups, but it was that triple for Betty that kind of closed out game 1, and into the second match, it was, remember, this is Karsa against his team from last year. He played Sejuani in both games, and I think XLB kind of outperformed him in both of those matches. As this fight, look how close team fights are in the LPL. Nobody's spread up. It's just
I
10.
miss the LPL so much.
It's just 10 champions in a pixel bush during a team fight.
It doesn't matter how silly things get in other regions or how wacky you try to make it, no one really gets to the LPL. And look, it might even look disorganized like this sometimes, but there is
Calculated.
exactly 200 IQ going on here. And oh, I love having the LPL.
Yeah, and RNG, a 2-0 start for them. Betty looked fantastic in these games. 22 kills, 2 deaths, 12 assists on the Kaisa and that Aphelios. RNG go to 1-1, and now TES, that's their first loss on the split. They drop down to 2-1. Still a lot of faith in all 4 of the teams that we've talked about so far. Definitely playoff favorites. The final match, you had LNG versus OMG, and we've talked about Orn's losing in these first couple of series. Well, LNG, let me tell you, they one-upped even that in the third game. They had Orn with the Ocean Soul, and they still managed to lose that game. The LPL, when it's not the top tier teams and you have these kind of crazy team fights, that's when you can call them fiestas.
Yeah, you know what? I think the other 2 matchups were certainly had their moments of being a lot closer and things like that. This was the one that, if you were watching today, was the LPL flavor fiesta that you had going on. OMG and LNG absolutely delivering on that.
But you know that the middle tier to bottom tier teams in China often have the most exciting matches because they have that insanely aggressive playstyle. I'm going to fight you wherever you are on the map, and don't necessarily have the macro figured out as well as some of the other top teams. So it ends up just being insane wombo combo attempts and fighting over Baron time and time again.
You know, and one of the things I also missed about the LPL, and I love about the LPL, and I wish they bring it to other regions, is the emotes. I love seeing the players
the thumbs up.
The thumbs up, the taunting emotes, the BM. Bring it all here. That's what I want to be seeing here, and you certainly saw that in LNG and OMG's game.
Yeah, OMG getting it done in that third game. SMLZ still on that squad as they pick up their first win. LNG drops to 1-2 on the split, but this is going to be some rapid fire coverage and highlights for the LPL going forward with 3 best of 3 series every day except for Tuesday. Tuesday, it's just a simple 2 best of 3s, but there's going to be an incredible amount of LPL coming through.
And it's a bit strange because we're already gearing towards playoffs here in NA and EU, but hey,
Week 2
in the LPL, it's time to restart all over again, but I'm so happy it's back.
Yeah, and any updates we have on when the LCK will come back, it's going to be at least a week for sure, but whenever we get any kind of news, we will talk about it right here as the LPL is going to roll on through the week. IG versus E-Star, the next hype match to check out. That's all the time today for League Unlocked. Eric and Mark here. We'll catch you on the Flippity Flop.